Okay, sorry folks, I had a cut off on me. Anyways, the 85 Trans Am on a road course, if I would have taken both around, done hot laps, the times in the Trans Am would have been much quicker. Not only would the Trans Am hold a corner at a higher speed, it would, it didn't kick out the rear end as soon. Yeah, if you know anything about a rear-wheel drive Corolla, they can drift pretty easy. They made a cartoon about it, Initial D, which is Japanese cartoon. And a lot of these drift kids, that was their dream cars, the Toyota Corolla rear-wheel drive. I also had one that was from my brother drive that was the pedestrian version, the SR5, which had the single cam, not the twin cam, 1.6 with a carburetor. And the basic block between a 4AGE and a 4AC, the cylinder block's the same. The heads are different and everything else up top is. And a GTS AE86 Corolla did not come with the automatic. They only came with the 5-speed with the twin cam motor. Whereas the automatics were like the single cam carbureted cars. But that was my brother's car, and it handled okay, but neither one of those cars would hold the rear end in a corner like my Trans Am. And my brother's car, we had put 14-inch wheels on it too, which I had on the GTS. We'd put aftermarket ones on there, and it had a slightly taller, slightly wider tire than what was on the Toyota Supra 14s I had on the Corolla GTS. Like I said, the Trans Am, it was like I could go through a corner 15 to 20 miles an hour quicker before I would start drifting the rear end. And I drifted the Trans Am a few times. I drove that thing hard. It had a 383 small block Chevy in it. I bought it that way. Had a Holley 850 on it, and it was not a vacuum secondary. It had a secondary metering block. Now, if you know your Chevrolet engines and your Holley carburetors, and yeah, I mispronounced both of them on purpose, then you'll know what I'm talking about. You have to have a good small block to use an 850 on it and not bog it out. Well, I got the car, it had a Quadra-Junk on there, and it was junk. It was the computer solenoid control carburetor, and people whose family trees don't fork had messed with the carburetor and messed it all up. Messed up everything on that car. I had to go straighten it out. The guy that originally put the motor in the car was a genius. Okay, he knew what he was doing. But then it was owned by family tree non-forkist types, and then I rescued it. And being it was from West Virginia, it had no rust. And like I said, it ran good. I never got beat by anything in it. And it was pure Fox body 5.0 Mustang bait. Everyone that saw it tried it, and everyone that tried it lost. Not that it was the baddest car on earth. Like I said, it was about mid-sec, 12-second drag car, but I think the guys that knew better they just didn't try me, because they knew that Trans Am ain't stock. And yeah, this guy at the strip, if he got all the way in it, because a couple people tell me at test and tune, yeah, if I would have went any faster, if I wouldn't have been sandbagging at the strip, they would have told me not to come back without a cage. That kind of deal. Anyways, so we're talking about the Honda thing and everything. And I've had a couple imports. I had a Nissan truck that I used to jump in tough truck competitions. It went like 2 competitions and it was done for. I just killed that frame in that thing. It was a 88 Nissan hardbody I want to say it's a 2.4 liter. The motor, they called it a Z24. I can't remember if it was 2.2 or 2.4 liter, but it was inline four. Had 31 1050s on it when I jumped it the one time, and then I found some 33s and put them on 6-lug wheels, put them on there. I also had a Toyota Celica GTS, which a Celica GTS and a Supra are about the same car, except the Celica has the 22RE in it, or the 22R, instead of the 6-cylinder. But it has the independent rear suspension of the Supra. In those years they were the same bodies. It was a 85. It was fuel injected. It had to be a 5 or 6, I think, to be a fuel injected 22RE. I jumped that car in tough truck competitions too. Broke my ankle for the first time because the firewall folded. But there are people that still remember seeing a camouflage Toyota in a tough truck competition outdoing Jeeps, Fords, and Chevy trucks. These guys would get out there and jacked up Jeeps, and they're going over there idling over the jumps. And here I am, a redneck in a $25 Toyota that I cut the back window out of and sprayed painted camouflage, and I'm jumping. And I'm jumping like the sand rails that were running in front of me. There are 5 sand rails in front of me, and I got 6th place. So what does that tell you? I was actually trying. I bent that car. I bent the car where the front end was at an angle like this to the car body. And I sold the seats out of it for $25. So I just had the money I was in it for the spray paint. Well, we went ahead, took the thing to the crusher, came out bucks ahead. At the time, that car was smoking, and we had emissions testing here in Ohio called E-Check. The engine needed rings. It was consuming a quart of oil every 75 miles. So the head probably needed redone. It probably needed rings too. The car was rusty. It was crusty. The best thing about it were the seats. You had to buy a $350 a year emissions waiver for it, and it was not going to be too long for this world. The rear end had a howl in it. Transmission had a whine in it too. So what I did with it was the most glorious end it could have ever seen. But yeah, it ended up getting recycled. But the only thing Honda makes that I like, they got these little portable generators, and those work excellent. And I'm talking like 4,000 watts and below 110 generators. They work excellent. They're quiet. And I've seen other generators under 4,000 watts that the small ones, they are like a 1960s Briggs & Stratton lawnmower. You hear the thing a mile away. But the little Honda ones, they're quiet. And I went to a swap meet in 2014, and I took a Honda generator with me. It was the 2014 spring, or you call it the spring because it's in April, AACA Hornet Nest Region Auto Fair at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Second time I sold there. Last time I sold there. Ain't going back to it. And went before, couldn't get coffee. Coffee trailer was like a mile away or something. And from the time I got up to like 6 in the evening, I'd have people buying stuff or looking at stuff or wanting to pretend they were going to buy it. So this time I brought a coffee maker with me. Well, the people I was with, they had one of them Chinese 5,000 watt generators where it only does 1,000 watts on the 110, 115, 120 side. And it was marked like 110, 115. I don't even think it did 120 volt. But only did 1,000 watts. Well, if you do the watts conversion on my Black & Decker coffee maker, which is the same model pretty much as the one I had before, they pulled the same amount of watts, I checked, and it pulls the amperage it pulls, you know, converting it over, it's like 13.5 amps, which that's not an excessive amount of amps, but when you're talking your generator's only putting out 1,000 watts or 9, yeah, I think that's what, I'm not even going to say what it is because I just did the math wrong, I think, and I was about to say something that was totally wrong. But I borrowed my buddy's Honda generator, and it's a 1,500 watt generator, and he's like, well, we better test it out. So I took the coffee maker over to his house because he didn't want to just bring the generator over until he knew I was going to actually use it. I don't know why he was just weird like that. Put some gas in the generator, took the coffee maker over there, brewed a pot of coffee, dumped the water back in the tank. You know, I didn't have any grounds in the filter basket, so we're just basically heating water and passing it through. You know, did it twice, did it 3 times, and the generator, when it would go from brew to warm, would idle down. And just on the warming function, that thing would turn off after 2 hours, but had no problem with brewing. It did not tax out the generator. It still had output left. Yeah, I could have ran on a light bulb with these off the other 110 or 115 or whatever it was on there. But that Honda generator impressed me, and that was one that he had bought used off Craigslist for $400, and it was quiet. It wasn't screaming loud. It didn't sound like you had a big block drag car next to you going all the time. And it was the only generator around there that wasn't pissing off the neighbors that were camped next to us. They didn't mind it at all. They said they didn't even hear it in their RV, which is a good thing. All right, well, I'm going to get off here for now. I'm about out of phone space. Later, YouTube land.